Are you walking through life with a blindfold on? Blindfold, you ask? I can see just fine. I'm not talking about what you see around you. I'm talking about what you don't see. Here we are in sunny Singapore, a city-state with 5.5 million people. Now in Singapore, like many developed countries, we have everything we need. In fact, we have more than we need. Take it one step further, and there are people and our Mother Nature suffering around the world so that we can have too much of everything. Let me ask you in a different way. Do you blind yourself from the truth? It's undeniable that our planet is suffering at our hands. But when our eyes are open, and we're looking around at our current world, we often feel overwhelmed. And the question arises, well, what can I as one person do? We kind of distance ourselves from these big ideas and problems. At this point, we were presented with what I like to call the Matrix moment. Any Matrix fans in the room? I certainly am. Awesome. So, for those that haven't seen the Matrix, Neo, the lead character, is presented with a moment, a choice, a blue pill or a red pill. Now, the blue pill represents falsity, it represents security, and it represents this blissful ignorance. The red pill represents freedom, knowledge, and the sometimes painful truth of reality. So in this Matrix moment, when you pick the blue pill, you continue along with your life and you just ignore everything and you in this blissful ignorance. And when you take the red pill, you really dive into the truth and the reality. My Matrix moment came when I discovered these chilling facts here. That fashion is one of the most resource-intensive, both natural and human, and polluting industries in the world. Now what we're talking about here is things like natural resources like water, over pollution with things like waste and carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. Now, why did this have such a profound effect on me? Well, for as long as I can remember, I always dreamt of working in the fashion industry. I was one of those little girls that dreamt about the people and the glamour and of course the clothes. And when I graduated from university, I had the opportunity to plan fashion weeks around the region. And when I came across these facts, it not only hit me like a ton of bricks, but it ignited something inside of me. And so, knowing what I now knew and feeling what I now felt, how could I possibly continue doing what I was doing? Well, the simple answer was I couldn't. I could have taken that blue pill and built up my fashion career as I'd always imagined, and kind of ignored these scary things that I was discovering. Or I could have taken the red pill and pulled back that veil and really started to understand the industry and the world that we're actually living in. Well, naturally, I took that red pill, and that's how Green is the New Black was born. Our mission is to help people to live more consciously, and we do that by connecting people deeper with themselves, with others, and with Mother Nature. What we do is we bring people together through a series of events so that we can talk about sustainability and conscious living in a fun and modern way. Since our launch in 2015, we've had over 70 thought leaders grace our stage. We've celebrated 250 change-making brands. We've had 3,500 people join us at our events, and we've reached over 5 million people online. So, after a lot more research and a lot more scary facts, I was finally starting to see the truth. And that truth, I was finally starting to see the truth. And I knew the hardest part would be to get people around me to see that truth as well. So what I realized is that we're undergoing a global shift and transformation. Now it's not overly apparent to everyone, but it's very clearly there. There is a yearning and a fire within people ready to burn. People are starting to care more and more about what they're putting on and in their bodies, what they're feeding their minds, and where they're voting with their time and their wallet. And this is what I call the rise of the conscious movement. And at Green is the New Black, we really set ourselves a challenge to ignite that fire within people and help them along with their truth-seeking journey. But let's go back a step. What do I really mean when I'm saying this word conscious? Well, for us, conscious living means taking back control of our lives. It's understanding that our decisions not only impact us, but our surroundings and the environment as well. More simply, I look at it as living wide awake. It's everything we do, from how we show up in the world, to how we contribute with the work that we do, to how we vote with our times and our wallets. But it really starts with us. So what if we can identify how conscious we were and take the next steps forward to living more awake? Well, I started thinking about this and I developed something called the conscious living ladder. And I'm going to walk you through that today. But before we get to the conscious living ladder, I want to look at some of the scary stats. Now, each of these stats had a profound effect on me and really pivoted our work with Green is the New Black. So the first is that it takes 2,720 litres of water to produce a single t-shirt. Now, that's how much we normally drink in a 3-year period. By 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean by fish than weight. And as we learned earlier today, that plastic gets into the fish, and we eat the fish, and that plastic ends up inside of us. 1 to 2 acres of rainforest are cleared every single second. And animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than the combined exhaust of all transportation. Now, these facts are pretty scary, so just by show of hands, who was kind of aware of some of these facts, or maybe had come across them, or had heard things similar to this before? Okay, so this is really what we're talking about at our first level of our conscious living ladder, awareness. We're aware of some of these issues, it's on our radar, but at this level it's really easy to feel overwhelmed, as I was talking about in the beginning. So what we do is we kind of distance ourselves from these big problems, and we kind of think, well, you know, what can I as one person do? This isn't my problem. And what we do at this stage is when we do start thinking about these problems and we think about the negativity and we think about how big some of these problems are, we can get a little bit defensive. And we start trying to justify our current lifestyle and the decisions that we're making. It's human nature for us to look for meaning and to try and justify our lives and our experiences. So this happened to me. I was watching the Simon Sinek talk that went viral a couple of months ago about millennials. Maybe some of you have seen it. And in a nutshell, he says in this video that millennials were dealt a bad hand. That it's not our fault that we have this sense of entitlement, that we're unhappy and we're searching for this elusive thing called impact. We were just dealt a bad hand. And when I sat watching this, I sat there and I was like, you know what, yeah, I was dealt a bad hand. And it's not my fault that I'm unhappy, it was just the hand that I dealt. And I found myself justifying the way that I was feeling, and he just gave me reasons and meanings that I was clinging onto. And this is really what happens at this level. We're justifying our comfort, we're justifying our lifestyle. And what I found is that brands are helping us to do this as well. So in the last 12 months, we've seen huge global shifts. And now we're living in this Brexit Trump world. And while it's shaken a lot of people out of complacency, the question really comes, are people actually willing to do anything about it? So we had a lot of political shifts, and there was these big brands coming out making big gestures, which they were very public about letting their customers know about it. One coffee chain came out and said that they were going to hire 10,000 refugees. And another holiday chain came out and said that they were going to give free holiday accommodation to anyone who wasn't allowed in the US. Now, while these brands showcased great, noble social responsibility, were they really doing this because they wanted to make an impact? Or were they trying to sell more? Or were they also just allowing us to pat ourselves on the back without actually having to change anything because we were supporting them and they were supporting other people? So the question arises, are we just looking for reasons and justifying our comfort and fueling our social conscience without actually having to change anything about our current habits? So maybe you're comfortable at this level in justifying, and I do really encourage you to support the brands who are making a difference. But if you're ready to stop justifying and move up to the next level of awakening, then you're ready to take responsibility. At this level, we really realize that actually we are in control and we have the power. So I'm going to look at a local example. Here we are in Singapore, as I said. And in Singapore, we have an issue with the haze every year. And the haze is caused largely by the state of Sumatra in Indonesia, where they burn forests to clear the land for the production of palm oil. Now, most of these fires are done with complete disregard for nature and wildlife and are completely illegal. So my fellow Singapore friends who complained and whined during the haze, I know I certainly did, and those of you that complained and whined who actually took it one step further to understand why this was happening and educate yourself and understand who was actually to blame. And those of you that maybe did that, who of you then actually boycott those brands or maybe try to look for more sustainable sources? For those of you that don't know, palm oil is in lots of products in our supermarkets. It's in some brands, breads, margarines, it's in fabric softeners, washing up detergents, soaps, chocolates, and chewing gum. Now, if palm oil production continues at its current rate, the Sumatra tiger will be extinct within 3 years, and orangutan will be extinct within 5 to 10 years. Now, most of those products that you're seeing on your supermarket shelf, they're unable to prove that their palm oil production and supplies are from sustainable sources. So how devastating would it be if our children and our children's children were unable to enjoy the majestic tiger and orangutan because we did not take responsibility and we bought the wrong brand of chocolates and washing up detergents? We really need to understand that it is our responsibility. We need to educate ourselves. We need to understand that we have power and we are in control. And once we understand that we're in this position, we can move to the next level, which is taking action. We can actually start taking action, living wide awake, as I've been talking about. I was once asked in an interview, what about my old life do I miss? And I was so taken aback by this, my old life. I'd never thought about it as my old life and my new life. I'd just taken a series of very conscious steps and very purposeful steps to live better. And I've never actually been happier or healthier than I am right now. So at this level, I really think about it as the butterfly effect, where when we take small purposeful steps, then and we have a desirable or a positive response from that small step, then we take another step, and sooner or later, we're living this whole new different life, or this whole new different level of awakening. But the main thing to focus on at action level is the power of small. Sometimes, as I mentioned, when we're looking at these big problems, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. But if we just think about taking small actions and keep moving forward, then we start to remove the anxiety that goes along with these bigger problems. So at this point, it's really good to pick a fight. So maybe that's climate change, or maybe it's female empowerment, or maybe it's fighting against the haze, or maybe it's plastics, the war on plastic. And when you do pick that fight, start taking very small steps towards integrating that into your life. And so you may be thinking, okay, I'm aware, I'm going to stop justifying my comforts, and I understand that I am responsible and I can take control. And now I'm taking these small actions to live better. But is it going to make a big difference? What if I want to make a really big difference? And I would say to you, well, I'm really glad you asked, because that takes us to our fifth and final level of our Conscious Living Ladder tribe, where a group of people get united over a common passion or cause. Because the power, guys, really lies with us as a collective. If we are strong enough, if we are loud enough, we can be the change, and we can change the world. Don't believe me? Well, let's look at a real-life example. Same-sex marriage in the US. When Barack Obama was originally campaigning, he was quoted to say, "I am not a supporter of gay marriage." Now, when did his opinion start changing? Well, when the public opinion and the polls started changing. He was then quoted to say, "I think that same-sex couples should be able to get married." People like you and me banded together in the whole of America, and they formed a tribe. And because they became the majority, it was President Obama in the end who signed the same-sex marriage law into effect. We need to be the majority, and when we are the majority, we can make the change. There was a professor of economics at Harvard University who was quoted to say that politicians are our elected leaders, but really they are our elected followers. When we as a people demand a change, they fall in line. So at this point, we need to understand that we need to be the majority. It's up to all of us to fight for our planet, for our future, and for our children's future, and our children's children's future. So now we have our 5 levels of our Conscious Living Ladder. And maybe you've identified where you are at this ladder. And you might be thinking, okay, so how can I move up to the next level? Or how can I get the people in my life to move up the next levels with me? Well, through my learnings and journeys, I've discovered 3 key things that help us to move forward with positive change. The first is inspiration. We really need to get that fire inside people burning. That's the first step. Secondly, we need to feed the intellectual side with knowledge and that chitter-chatter that goes on to justify the fire. And the third and most important step, we need to make it incredibly simple for them to take that first action, that first small action towards that bigger change. Now, these three things are the basis of everything that we do at Green is the New Black, and are the building blocks for everything that we put out and all the events that we do. So at this point, pick a fight and something that you're passionate about and take the first step towards that fight. And then find your tribe or community, and if you can't find one, build one, or join us at Green is the New Black. I'd like to leave off with the final thought that we do not inherit the planet from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. Currently, there are 1.8 billion youth between the age of 10 and 24. Now that's our biggest youth population ever. It's undeniable that they are the future of our planet, but what kind of future are they going to have? I truly believe that if each and every one of us was a little more conscious in a few aspects of our lives, we'd be happier, healthier, and lessen the burden on the planet. But it really starts with you. You need to take that red pill and live wide awake. It's up to us to make a change today for a better tomorrow for all. Thank you so much.